Methods and tools of payment in exporting. The process of exporting is incomplete without receipt of payment. Export income is considered earned only when payment has been received. So I'll be discussing on the most recognized method of payment in exporting.
The most popular and safe method of international payment is by a confirmed irrevocable letter of credit at sight. The documentary letter of credit is an arrangement whereby the applicant, which is the importer, requests and instructs the issuing bank, that's the importer's bank, or the issuing bank acting on his own behalf, pays the beneficiary, that is the exporter, or accepts and pays the draft drawn by the exporter, or authorizes the advising bank or the nominated bank to pay the exporter, or to accept and pay the draft drawn by the exporter, or authorizes the advising bank or the nominated bank to negotiate against stipulated documents, provided that the terms and conditions of the documentary credit are fully complied with.
Types of letters of credit. We have one, the irrevocable letter of credit, and then we have revocable letter of credit. So as you can see, the letter of credit can be either revocable or irrevocable. Now, the letter of credit usually indicates whether it is an irrevocable or revocable letter of credit. So in the absence of such indication, the letter of credit is deemed to be irrevocable. An irrevocable letter of credit cannot be amended or cancelled without the consent of the issuing bank, the confirming bank, if any, and the beneficiary. So the payment is guaranteed by the bank if the credit terms and conditions are fully met by the beneficiary. The words irrevocable documentary credit or irrevocable credit may be indicated in the letter of credit. In some cases, an irrevocable letter of credit received by the beneficiary may become invalid without the amendment or cancellation of such letter of credit. For example, when the trade between importing and exporting countries is suspended, such as in a trade transaction, or when the issuing bank has ceased operation. There have been cases of an irrevocable letter of credit being amended without the consent of the beneficiary. The beneficiaries affected were export manufacturers from a developing country. So the importers were able to convince and instruct the issuing bank to amend the latest date for shipment in the letter of credit, changing to a date earlier than the agreed upon date, at which time the beneficiary will not be able to ship the products. The importers used sneaky tactics that aimed to cause the beneficiaries to default in the delivery. The intention of the importers was to cancel the orders from the existing supplier and buy from other suppliers in other developing countries where the price had become lower. So in the event of an amendment, like the case I just mentioned, the beneficiary must give notification of rejection of amendment to the bank that advised the amendment at once. Let's go further to discuss on irrevocable and without recourse letter of credit. Now, the irrevocable letter of credit received from an advising bank may be indicated as irrevocable and without recourse documentary credit. Now, the words without recourse mean that the advising bank will not be able to recover the money paid to the beneficiary in case the issuing bank does not pay the advising bank. While a revocable letter of credit can be amended or cancelled by the issuing bank at any time without the consent of the beneficiary, often at the request and on the instructions of the applicant. So there's no security of payment in a revocable letter of credit. The words "this credit is subject to cancellation without notice" is a revocable documentary credit and is usually indicated in the letter of credit. So the revocable letter of credit was not uncommon in the 1970s and earlier when dealing with less developed countries, but it is rarely seen these days in international trade. So do not let these words scare you. Just get yourself familiar with them so that if you hear someone talking about them, it will not sound new to you. Going further, let's discuss on documentary collection. Now, documentary collection is necessary when the draft is drawn on the importer. The exporter must give instructions to the collecting bank on what to do with the draft and shipping documents in documentary collection instructions, also known as a collection letter or a letter of instructions. So such letter provides the conditions under which the collecting bank can release documents to the importer and the actions to be undertaken. The format of the instructions forms and drafts may vary from bank to bank, but they basically have the same information. The forms and drafts are available at the banks. Another way of receiving payment from your buyers abroad is through check and bank draft. In exporting to the offshore countries, payment by check and bank draft occur more often in a small order, ranging from a few hundred to a couple of thousand US dollars. Check and bank drafts are often used in open accounts and consignment trade arrangements. Both large and small companies may default in their payments regardless of the amount involved. In times of economic uncertainty, both large and small companies may go out of business. It is important to receive the check or bank draft before releasing the shipment. Unless the integrity of the importer is known, it is very important to wait until the check or bank draft has cleared before the shipment of your goods to your buyers abroad. Please note that as a mini exporter, if you're not going on the large scale, you want to start your exportation business in a mini scale, you can only use Western Union or MoneyGram to receive payments. Another way of receiving payments is through telegraphic transfer. Now, telegraphic transfer, that's cable transfer or wire transfer, is the equivalent of a cash payment that can be credited directly to the seller's account. The name and address of the seller's bank and the seller's bank account number are required by the buyer's bank. It is fast and safe, unlike a payment by check or bank draft in which the mailing time alone may take several days to weeks, plus the clearing time of 3 to 4 weeks for a total of about 4 to 6 weeks before the seller may receive the cash. So by means of telegraphic transfer, the seller may receive the cash in a few hours or days. It's important to wait until the telegraphic transfer has been received before making the shipment, especially when the integrity of the buyer is unknown. So please take note. For an exporter to successfully repatriate export proceeds, he must have an active corporate domiciliary account with any reputable commercial bank in Nigeria or any other country you are in Africa. Such an account could be a dollar, euro, or pound sterling account. As a professional, I advise that every exporter should operate three currency accounts for flexibility. Okay, upon opening of a domiciliary account, the exporter should request for his commercial bank's offshore account details, which must be presented to the foreign buyer in this format displayed on the screen. Terms of payment valid are bank transfer by means of payment order, bank transfer by telegraphic transfer, cash against document, cash against delivery, prepayment of a certain percentage of the contract value, and any other type of payment agreed upon. To initiate export transaction, you will need to send a letter of offer to your buyers. So on the screen is a sample of a letter of offer. So you can edit this and use it also. You also need an export sale contact. And this on the screen is a sample that you can edit and use. So in summary, for those who want to go into exportation in micro scale, The first step is to choose your product, then next is to do your market research, then next you find your buyers, next you ship your product to your buyer after payment agreed.